I just want us to know that pacing ourselves and giving ourselves that grace that you talked about and loving on ourselves so we can love on others, it's an essential.
Yeah. And I would say the thing with my generation, I am a millennial. I think a lot of what we are presenting, some of it is some of it is survival because I know people say that millennials complain a lot, but we've seen a lot in a short span of time.
There's
If you
vanilla.
think about it, millennials are what, 81 ish, 1981 to like 96. A lot of things happened in that time and since, we've seen a lot happen. A lot of things we maybe didn't understand, but we watched our parents go through it and try to navigate it. And I think a lot of why we function the way we do is watching those before us do some of the things that they say, oh, we just figured it out. And we're saying, we watched you figure it out. And it didn't look fun. So
Was it?
we'd like to try something else. Just a little bit different. Some things we have no choice and we have to make it happen. But there are some things it's like, well, do we have to do it that way? One of my favorite things to say, and I to anybody, is just because something was always done one way, it doesn't mean it was right.
That's right.
Right? So it doesn't necessarily mean it was wrong, but there are multiple ways to get to one destination, right?
Absolutely.
There's multiple ways to get to a similar outcome.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be all done one way. Things change. If we were to always do things the same way, how would we function in the technology?
It's called growth.
Right? It's growth. So I think, we get some credit because not from everybody, we get some credit for the things that we're doing differently, but I think it's important to give the credit to the older generations, not so much for doing the things or showing the example, but paving the way for the change.
Yeah.
And there was more intention in some of the things you all did than you may have even realized, because most of the people that I know, they'll tell me, oh, their parents, their main thing was, oh, we want your life to be better than ours.
Yes.
Majority, right? There's always gonna be the outlier who's just like, well, I suffered through, so you suffer through. But you know, majority of parents really wanted us to have better.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like to them, they wanted and they worked hard and they strived for better. Has it added some pressure? Sure. But it also has shown us, okay, well, there was intention behind making sure our lives were better. So we're taking that and making sure our lives are better, not just for us, but for those who are coming after us, right? And so one of the things that I always remember, which I didn't realize what it was until becoming a mental health professional, is some of the things you've taught me, with regulating my emotions, right? Like, so something that I didn't realize was a grounding technique that I know now I can refer to it as that. Kind of what you said with I can't show up as my best if I haven't, given myself the grace. And even those moments when I was young and I wasn't processing my emotions in a way that was received well, and I was be told, hey, if you're gonna say something disrespectful, you're gonna, if I was gonna come at you crazy, step away, take time for yourself, collect yourself, and then come back. That was teaching me emotional regulation, something that a lot of people didn't think of in that way, but that was a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it wasn't always received well from everyone when I wanted to do that, but it helped me so much as an
Mm-hmm.
adult. It's like, okay, well, I need to step away, take some time, and sometimes I still do the same thing, which is go and sit in the bathroom on the floor in the dark. Literal grounding. uh, Sitting on the floor in the dark and just like taking some breaths and collecting myself before I then say, all right, well, I gotta take on the day.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to white knuckle life. We don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we force ourselves to.
That's a moment for breath. I just like to take a breath there. Oh, I'm learning to do that a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
every day. Every day, I shared with some folks that, and I think I said this to you, that I was struggling at first to do Slow It Down Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
or just this new walk, because I'm so used to being
Go, go,
go,
go.
go, go.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to come before the people to present something that I'm still working through. But I'm so glad that God gave me grace and said to me, I didn't ask you to have arrived. I asked you to invite people on the journey with
Absolutely.
you. And I'm so happy that I get to do this journey with each and every one of you who choose to join me on Slow It Down Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I'm in a group, you know, the previous week I did an event where we had massages and facials
Mm-hmm.
and all this kind of stuff for women who are in leadership and
Mm-hmm.
serving.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so refreshing to not just talk about how you're caring for yourself, but for us to actually be in the space to do it and share that time together. And just the opportunity for us to live it more and talk about it less, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at right now. I don't want to, yes, I'm here, I'm talking to you about it, but I want to continually be active about it, actively pursuing,
Active or intentional?
intentional,
Because you're
but
talking about slowing it down and then
I
active.
know, but what I want to make sure is that I'm not just talking about.
You're walking it.
I want to walk it, and
I
that's
got you.
that's being active. I want to actively slow down
Mm-hmm.
with intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to do that. And I'm encouraging each and every one of us to do it more, to practice the art of doing nothing and be okay about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I'm doing nothing and oh my gosh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And we're feeling guilty. We're not really relaxing. We're not really slowing down. If I am so consumed with emotions and mental fatigue because I am over processing just the idea of selecting myself for a moment and just resting.
Yeah.
I really invite us to, and it's a new muscle for us to build because many of us have not been practicing it. We are in a world that applauds the grind, applauds the hustle, applauds that you have to in order to succeed.
I vote jumping off the hamster wheel.
Yeah, I don't want to be on I don't want to be on the wheel.
I vote jump off. Because why? Sometimes you just. I even said that to you today.
Yeah,
There are days where you just have to be like, well, you know what? I just don't. I'm not going to. Not because of anything other than I don't want to.
yeah,
Sometimes you need that. And I think one of the things for me, what's making it easier for me, it's not necessarily the work I do. It's after finding out or learning of my ADHD diagnosis, it's been a lot of that. It's been a lot of, okay, well, sometimes functioning is just hard for me. And so rather than feeling guilty about it, I have to. If I don't allow myself to relax sometimes, the times when I need to be active and I need to be um, focused and getting things done, I won't have it because I've literally spent it all. Um, I need those things that are going to replenish my energy because I'm constantly, as someone with ADHD, constantly chasing the dopamine, the excitement, the thing that makes me feel good. Um, and like I said in the beginning, oftentimes life doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't, if you don't, well, I'm speaking for myself right now. If I don't allow myself that rest time, or I don't say, okay, today I really don't have it, and what I have going on is not mandatory, I can switch around, I can change my day, I can adjust my schedule today. Sometimes I just have to, sometimes I have to cancel a plan or say no or not answer the phone because I just don't, it's too much. I don't want to, I don't have to, and I'm not going to. Sometimes I have to fully lean into that so that those days when I actually have to, I need to show up for myself and for others, that I have the capacity to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what
So,
what would we like to invite our listeners to practice and take hold of this week? So you
hmm.
said some things. You said take the day.
Yes, take it, claim it.
Um, I've given that advice before, but I
I
wanna
got you.
activate
I
it.
think I have something, and you can tell me if you've given this before. Um, Sometimes when we have those, oh, I'm supposed to do this, I have to do this, I should be doing this. I challenge people to ask, says who?
Hmm.
Who says? And if it's not you, what authority does that person have?
Mm. What authority have you given them?
Right. No,
Because
but sometimes they have an authority, like let's say it's a boss,
hmm
right? And yes, they're saying you have to get this done, but you know your schedule. You know when the assignment, the task is due. Do you have a moment to take the day? And if not, what can you do towards it so you put that to the side and you move forward? Is there something that you can delegate to make that task easier for you?
that piece right there, that piece right there. So let's just look at this little exercise. Want to give everyone this opportunity to consider this. I love, we talk about journaling all the time, right? And the power of journaling. So if you have your journal, I'm going to encourage you to do this in your journal. But if you don't, like we always say, get a sheet of paper. But
Mm-hmm.
remember when I told you all to do a time audit, or to do an energy audit, whichever one you want to do. But let's say you look at all the things that are on your list
Mm-hmm.
to do, right? The things, and I like to brain dump
Mm-hmm.
and write them all down and then begin to dissect them and look and see which are your non negotiables. Like these must get done,
Are they
right?
non-negotiables or are they time sensitive?
It may not be time sensitive. So, for example, right, a non negotiable, right, is I gotta eat. Like that's a
Okay.
non-negotiable
Mhm.
for me,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
having lunch, having dinner, doing those things, doing my things that preserve me
Mhm.
are non-negotiables,
Mhm.
right? So I
Mhm.
have to do those things. Um, I have commitments, some commitments that are truly I bring are important to me that have great value. Um, I assess them that they're important, so I have those. But it's really important to identify what are those things that we think we need to be doing,
Mhm.
but we really don't. To your point, that we could delegate, that we could outsource,
Or could leave for tomorrow.
leave for tomorrow.
Like I understand the whole oh I don't want to procrastinate thing. I get it. But are you procrastinating or are you actively leaving it for a different time? Because one of the things that I've realized is if I sit to do something and I don't really have the capacity or energy to do it, it's beyond, oh, you're just being lazy. It's really, I don't have it. And if I sit there and try to force myself to do
It's
it,
just wasted time.
it is exactly wasted time because I'm going to belabor it. I'm going to sit there and look at it. I'm going to think about it. Like, this is just not getting done. But those times where I'm like, you know what? I don't have it. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to step away and I'm either going to come back to it later today or tomorrow. When I get back to it, it's like done. Because now I have replenished energy, time, and attention to really give to it. I'm no longer putting that unnecessary pressure on myself that it has to be in this very moment. So it may not even always be like, oh, do it tomorrow. Sometimes it's, I know I said I wanted to get this done by 2 o'clock, but it doesn't have to be. It's not a time sensitive
Mm-hmm.
situation that it gets done by 2 o'clock. So we're gonna pause. Maybe I'm gonna maybe I need to eat because I haven't eaten. Maybe I need to go to the bathroom because I've been sitting here saying I won't get up until I finish.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have another task that you can do to get a break from that one and come back. I do
Hmm.
that a lot. Because sometimes that's just what you need. Sometimes you need to step away and, readjust.
Again, I know you said one of the things you said was, when I said give ourselves permission, and you said, who do you need permission from, right? Um, I find that as we sometimes try to self-regulate
Mm-hmm.
our, to self-regulate,
Mm-hmm.
we impose certain parameters and self expectations,
Mm-hmm.
standards that sometimes it's not even externally
Mm-hmm.
that's adding the pressure. We're doing it to
That's
ourselves.
part of why the says who question is so
Yeah.
important because when the says who is you, then you get to say, okay, but why am I saying this? And is this an original message from me or did it come from somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
And if it came from somewhere else, how important is that source? If it's coming from me, why am I giving myself this pressure? Why, you get to start asking yourself things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like that says who. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, because a lot of times we're following these arbitrary rules that we don't have to follow. We were given free will, and a lot of people use it for things that aren't positive, that aren't good, that aren't healthy, that aren't safe.
Mm-hmm.
Deciding to send an email in 2 hours rather than in those 5 minutes, you'll be okay.
Deciding not to answer every phone call.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. Deciding that you don't have to answer the email right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we can do that, Zakia, um, I'm around a bunch of people and I'm watching the level of drain that's on people. You've said it, we've said it in different conversations that we're not okay.
We are not.
We're not
We're
okay.
mentally, emotionally, physically spent.
And I'm seeing it on the people. I'm
Yeah.
seeing it on my fellow human beings
Yeah.
that are in my proximity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching people trying to push forward,
Mm-hmm.
but the drain of all the things that are going on, it's taking a toll
Yeah.
on their physical, their mental, and these are people that society we would designate that these are the strong ones, and they are the
Are they all a
resilient
bunch of
ones.
black women? Because if they are,
No,
okay, I was about to
they're
say,
not.
toss some of
I'm
that in the
actually
garbage.
seeing I'm actually seeing
You mean like mentally, emotionally strong, the people that you would assume? Is
yeah,
that it?
people who are accomplished.
Okay.
They have great tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
They're resilient.
Mm-hmm.
They are, They, seek to live pretty balanced,
Mm-hmm.
tempered lives, and I'm seeing that the constant stimulus, and I really believe that I keep saying it, that we went from the pandemic, right, of
We
crazy,
talk about this all the time.
right, and we jumped back into the world, and we we are not okay.
No, and honestly, what I always say is that increased anxiety,
Yeah.
because that fear of the unknown, which is basically, that's the most basic way to define anxiety. Um, we were thrust into that
Yeah.
for at least a year and a half. I'm
Hmm.
Obviously COVID still exists and it hasn't gone away, and people are still struggling with it, and things like that. People are still not doing well, and passing and all of that. But my point is, as a collective country, world, society, we were thrust into this unknown. We didn't know what was going to happen at any given time. We didn't know how we were going to continue to operate in our jobs, in our companies and businesses, at school. Um, no one was on the road. We saw how much nature changed because people
Hmm.
weren't outside as much, and so many different things. And then it's like everyone said, "Well, it's over. Everybody get right back to how you were before March whatever 2020." That, whose idea was that?
Business people.
Every time I think about it, because as I in my work every day, I hear and I see things, and I'm like, when did some of this start? And then, very rarely is it, oh, it started this time way before the pandemic. Sometimes it started way before, but around that time is when things heightened. Even if you don't realize it, as you start to really talk through it, it's like, oh, this is when things got a little bit more crazy, a little bit more intense,
Hmm.
mentally and emotionally. And we we went from that to just go right back into the busy, and then everything in the world is going on, and we're bombarded with so much information. one of the things that One of the things I love and hate about TikTok is how much information you're able to get. You're so connected with everyone, not just in our country, but in so many other countries, and you're able to learn and understand so many parts of the world that you would have never had access to, and I love that. But also, it's too much. Sometimes it's like, I really didn't want to know that, actually. I really would have been okay living my life not knowing that one little fact.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, so it's too, we know too much
Hmm.
sometimes, and then not enough other times.
So, in practicing the pace,
Uh-huh.
pacing ourselves and really assessing and identifying when it's too much, how we, and I've done some episodes around this where I talk about how I protect my peace. How do we
Mm-hmm.
protect our peace? How do we
Mm.
care for ourselves? How do we honor our well-being by, um, you know, I I'm not spending um, hours watching the news. I'm not spending multiple hours on scrolling. Um, Sometimes it's because I'm too busy, but most times it's that, yeah, I don't want to. But then for me, because Zakia is on it, she's going to say, Mommy, did you hear? And give me the alert. And um, I just want us to, because I believe every one of our listeners in some shape or form is probably dealing with this. What are some tools we want to be able to share with them, or strategies or way forward to just better manage how we are processing and dealing with all the stimulus of information and
So, slightly loaded question because there's so many tools out there, and some will work for you, some won't. Some will work for you for certain situations, some will work for you for others. But that phrase that you say, protecting my peace,
Mhm.
that's another one I have a love hate relationship with because I often, and this is with a lot of now the mental health jargon, we kind of have that social media mental health where there are a lot of professionals who are putting out really great information, but there are a lot of people who have just decided I'm this guru and I'm just going to say all these things and da, 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 da. And then there's a lot of misinformation and words that are used incorrectly. And oftentimes when I hear, oh, I'm just protecting my peace, too often I hear it when someone's trying to avoid something they should be dealing with.
Mhm.
Something or someone they should be dealing with.
Mhm.
And so I would just really caution everyone to not protect your peace so much that you become avoidant, because then you're really not protecting peace, you're only maintaining tension.
Mhm.
Because when you have no choice but to face it, you're not going to be prepared to handle it because
Mhm.
you've been avoiding and avoiding and avoiding, not so much protecting your peace, but you're avoiding it. Then there's also the your mind and body are going to naturally protect you from certain things
Mhm.
because that's what it's made for,
Yep,
right?
self-preservation.
And so there are certain things that you're kind of what you were saying earlier about your mind is going to start saying, hey, your body's going to start saying, hey, this thing is not working for you. I think those are the things to really look at when it comes to protecting your peace. Like, what's happening for me? And is it the situation that's not put me at peace? Or is it triggering um, a memory, an emotion maybe that I haven't really took the time to understand? Um, and so in that reflecting moments, and one of the things, since we were talking about journaling, one of the things I often suggest is a reflection journal, rather than trying to put that pressure to journal every day or every other day or whatever. I often suggest like a reflection journal, maybe a once a week, where you reflect on the week that you had, and you also give yourself time to plan for your upcoming week as much as you can. Um, but that whole protecting your peace thing and knowing what's good for you and not good for you, you have to understand you first. Sorry, did I
No, that
veer
is
off in a direction that you
no,
weren't
no,
ready
no.
for?
That is the big A1 number one piece
Mm-hmm.
right there. If we do not spend enough time, dedicate, commit time to learning about ourselves, we then try to show up and connect with other people in relationship and situations and environments. And because we've done a poor job spending time with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we we are a sometimes a poor representation of who we can be, right? And we won't know, Zakia, if I am protecting my peace or I'm avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
Because knowing that I am knowing my triggers, knowing the things that set me off, I need to know that. The only way I know that is being honest with myself. Being honest with myself, not necessarily to have to broadcast it to the world,
Mm-hmm.
but being honest with myself to say, you know what? I know I do this when, right?
Blank. Yep.
So, Zakia could tell you one of my biggest things to do that just allows me to decompress is I will walk around the store and shop.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just am browsing, putting stuff in a cart, and many times, I leave the cart right there.
Yes, you
But the
do.
process of just doing that just brings me down several notches,
Mm-hmm.
right?